this was a minute because I remember this case, and the case was largely around a guy that the police officers had to basically go and kind of chase. When they got him out the car, they tried to get him on the ground. When they eventually got him on the ground, they was kind of yelling and cussing and saying, "Man, put your hands behind your back." So he was resisting a little bit. He was resisting. He didn't do what he was supposed to do. And then eventually he got free and he ran, and they tried to tase him and they couldn't tase him. And then eventually they got to him. And if I remember correctly, because I'm going to replay the video just to refresh our memories. If I remember correctly, eventually they beat the crap out of him and he wound up passing away. So this was completely different than George Floyd. But and I'm gonna read that super chat shortly. This was completely different than George Floyd, but the officers, all of them, were black. That was an interesting part of it. They were black, so you can't say that it was a white man. And black people were unable to create a big deal about it because it wasn't race related. But they were police officers. So let me jog y'all memory really quickly because I want to make sure that we all in the same space. And I'm going to bring y'all up to speed on what happened. And I'm going to replay this video from like 2 years ago. It was from like 2 years ago. All right. So let me switch over because I want to make sure that we on premium. And then we're going to go ahead and play all the video because I'm going to refresh your memory and then I'm going to bring y'all up to speed on what happened with the trial. All right. This is what happened.
Damn, I didn't do anything. Hey, I didn't hurt your ass ground. All right. On the ground. You don't do that, okay? Get on the fucking ground. Get on the ground. Okay. Raise your ass. All right, I'm on the ground. Turn around. Yes, sir. Please take on the ground. I need to tase you. Get on the ground. One. Okay. Now, all right, okay. Break your shit. Okay, dude, damn. Turn the fuck around. Put your fucking hands behind. Bitch, put your hands behind your back. Okay, stop. Knock your ass the fuck out. You guys are really doing a lot right now. Bro, lay down.
Why do people resist arrest? That's what I'm trying to understand. Because I don't know, from Detroit, this type of language is not that abnormal to us, the way that we grew up. So this is not something new. I'm not a part of this new generation that is used to police officers talking to you all nice and they just gonna let you go if you start running because they don't want to injure nobody else. I'm from the era where they talk about gang squad. It was gang squad back then, and they handled you a little bit differently. But I'm trying to understand, why do people even resist arrest? Why do they sit there and negotiate? Oh no, stop! You're doing too much. Why do people do that? Why don't people just go ahead and get their cuffs on and keep it moving?
Go home. Man, if you don't lay down, I am on the ground. On your stomach. I got you. Okay. Get the fuck back. Stop. I'm not doing it. Please.
I don't know how he got out of that.
Shit.
All right, that's making me dizzy. So somehow, some way, he was able to get out of all of those guys, and then eventually they got up to him. They got in the car and they caught up to him. My man was tired, wasn't he?
Where's your water?
They coughing?
I can't see shit. Okay, I got you.
So anyways, eventually they catch up to him. The other video was a lot more graphic, so I don't want to play that one. I didn't play it 2 years ago. I'm not going to play it on this one. All of those cops is terrible, out of breath, everything. I see some people in the chat saying there was 2 police officers that actually pleaded guilty. 2 police officers actually pleaded guilty, so I'm assuming that they took the L for a lot of them. But anyways, I was informed this morning that cops actually, let me find this other clip for you guys, that the rest of the cops actually took it to trial and they pled not guilty, and then eventually they were acquitted. So let me find that other clip for you guys. Get this off of this. All right. So I'm gonna play this other clip for you guys. And then you guys can let me know what you think about it. And let me also say this before I play this other clip. Why do you guys try to hold me accountable for the jury of their peers finding them not guilty? What do I got to do with the fact that the jury found them not guilty? If I remember correctly, because again, this was over 2 years ago, I actually said that I didn't think that this was right and this was unjustified, but I wanted to see the same energy from Black people towards Black cops that were then on trial for the killing death of Tyre Nichols, and I wanted to see what the case is. So now 2 years later, they actually all found him not guilty. And again, this is a jury of their peers. These are people that 12 they were found not guilty by a jury of 12. And so now people want to get mad at me because I'm just reporting the news. I wasn't on the jury. I don't have nothing to do with it. I didn't even follow the case. I didn't know whether or not he was going to be acquitted or not acquitted. I had forgot all about it. I had to go and rewatch the video to even remember what we were talking about in the first place. Y'all are so emotional. Y'all are so emotional. So emotional. So this is what happened in the trial.
At 4:30 here, 3 former Memphis police officers acquitted on state charges in the fatal 2023 beating of Sacramento native Tyre Nichols. Thanks so much for joining us here for the CBS 13 News at 4:30. I'm Hunter Sowards. Your reporter Ashley Sharp, she's been tracking this one for us from the start. She's joining us now in the studio with the verdict. And Ashley, what has been a high-profile case here?
It has all eyes really on this, Hunter. A jury took about 8.5 hours over 2 days to find Darius Bean, Demetrius Haley, and Justin Smith not guilty on all charges after a 9-day trial in state court in Memphis, Tennessee.
Count 1, second-degree murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Darius Bean, not guilty. Count 1, we, the jury, find the defendant, Demetrius Haley, not guilty. Count 1, we, the jury, find the defendant, Justin Smith, not guilty.
Now, each of those defendants was charged with 7 different counts. And we know that those former Memphis police officers, like we said, have been acquitted. What those charges were originally was second-degree murder, aggravated assault, aggravated kidnapping, official misconduct, and official oppression. The jury was made up of 8 women and 4 men. Now, you'll remember this national story after a traffic stop back in January 2023. 5 Memphis police officers were captured on video punching, kicking, and hitting Nichols, a Sacramento native living in Tennessee at the time, as he called out for his mother. Nichols died 3 days after the beating. Prosecutors had argued the officers used excessive deadly force in trying to handcuff Nichols and were criminally responsible for each other's actions. They also said the officers had a duty to intervene and stop the beating. Shelby County District Attorney Steve Mulroy had this reaction to the not guilty verdict.
Hard for us to imagine how someone could say that none of the defendants were guilty of any of the charges. What I do know is this: Tyre Nichols is dead and deserves to be alive. And that is a tragedy.
Former Memphis officer Desmond Mills Jr. testified as a prosecution witness. Mills and another officer involved in that beating, Emmett Martin, have agreed to plead guilty to the state charges and are not standing trial under deals made with prosecutors. Now, the 3 defendants acquitted today on those state charges still do face the prospect of years in prison after they were convicted on federal charges last year. Sentencing for all 5 of the former officers on the federal conviction is.
So basically, they went to trial amongst the jury of their peers. The jury deliberated over 8 hours for 2 days. The jury found the guys not guilty based off of what I seen on the body cam. I'm not really sure that I could say that they were not guilty on all of the charges personally. That's my personal opinion. Now, I can't sit there and convict them in the court of public opinion if a jury of their peers, because either you have to blame the state prosecutors or the city's prosecutors to say that, well, they just didn't do an effective enough job to convince the jury or to present the information to show that he was actually guilty. Or you have to say that maybe they weren't guilty as far as the police officers. Maybe this police officer wasn't doing as bad of a job, or he was just over here, or maybe they tried to convict him because he didn't intervene. You need to deep dive into those details itself. If the jury found him not guilty, then I'm going to say that they're not guilty, and I'm going to still stand on that. But based off of what I've seen from the body cam, maybe the other two police officers that pleaded guilty were the ones that inflicted the damage that ultimately caused him to die. But the fact of the matter is, for me, I just don't like the fact that you got another guy that could have still been here and his life was taken. And it's unfortunate. It was absolutely unfortunate. It was unfortunate. And I don't want to see him dead. I don't want to see him gone. If I imagining putting myself in the seat of one of those jurors, I probably would have had a completely different verdict, but I wasn't on the jury. I'm not in Memphis, or I think that was Memphis, right? I'm not there. I wasn't on there. And so I wasn't able to have a say. All I can do is have a say on what it is that I see on this show. And on this show, based off of what I seen earlier today when I rewatched the video, and based off of what I remember myself saying from 2 years ago, it looked like he was done dirty. It looked like he was done dirty. Yes, he should not have resisted arrest. That does not mean that you're supposed to die. At no point did it seem like he was ever a threat. And if he would have had a gun, that was a completely different conversation. If he would have pulled out a knife, that was a completely different conversation. But resisting arrest and their inability to subdue him, in my opinion, does not justify him dying. It does not justify them beating the crap out of him the way that they beat the crap out of him. So I don't agree with the verdict. And I don't think it's going to be that much outpouring or outcrying, because people are going to say that they're black cops and that they're not white cops. If they were white cops, then people would have been rioting right now. If there were white cops, people would have been rioting right now. But again, I think that everything that it comes to race starts to make it a powder keg, and it makes it a lot more explosive. And the fact that they were white, that they were black cops, it kind of took the breath out of black people from really being able to advocate for Tyre Nichols, because I don't think that black people really stand up for anything unless it's race related. So that's my thoughts on it. I'm curious as to what you guys think. Make sure you tab into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Y'all saying that he was smashing one of their baby mamas. Yeah, I remember somebody saying that too. I don't know if that was ever substantiated though. I think that was just a rumor. I never was able to track down any kind of validation as to whether or not that was true or not. So